"You're done here." The words echoed through the pristine, white-marbled foyer of the Park estate. Hyun-woo didn't even look up from his phone as he ended Natasha's career. He thought he was firing a disobedient nanny. He had no idea he was dismissing the only person trained to keep his son alive. Before you find out what happens when Hyun-woo realizes his mistake, subscribe and stay with this story. Because the moment this arrogant billionaire realizes he fired the wrong person, everything changes. And tell me in the comments, if your boss fired you for doing the right thing, would you stay to save them? Or walk away for good? "You're done here," Hyun-woo snapped at her, not even looking up from his phone. "Pack your things and leave." Natasha stood in the doorway of the study, still holding the tray with the untouched tea she'd brought. Her hands didn't shake. Maybe she'd been expecting this. "Mr. Park, if this is about the schedule change I made for Daniels—" "I don't need you making decisions about my son," he cut her off, finally meeting her eyes. His jaw was tight, that vein in his temple pulsing the way it always did when he was angry. "You overstepped. Again." She set the tray down carefully on the side table. "I rescheduled his piano lesson because he had that appointment with Dr. Richardson, the neurologist. You signed off on it last week." "I signed off on the appointment, not on you rearranging his entire day without consulting me first." Hyun-woo stood, buttoning his suit jacket with sharp movements. "My ex-wife already thinks I can't handle things on my own. The last thing I need is the nanny acting like she runs this household." Natasha pressed her lips together. She'd worked for the Park family for 8 months now, ever since moving to Charlotte from Eswatini. 8 months of watching this man push everyone away while pretending he had everything under control. "I understand. I'll have my things out within the hour." "Good." He turned back to his desk, dismissing her like she was nothing. Like she hadn't spent countless nights monitoring Daniel's sleep patterns, documenting his episodes, learning every single warning sign that preceded his seizures. She left without another word, climbing the stairs to the 3rd floor where her room was. The house felt too big suddenly. All those high ceilings and expensive paintings, and nobody who actually talked to each other. Daniel was at school. He wouldn't even get to say goodbye. Natasha pulled her suitcase from the closet and started folding her clothes. Her phone buzzed. A text from her cousin Thandi back home. She ignored it. What was she supposed to say? That she'd failed again? That she'd let herself care too much about a job that was never meant to be permanent? The doorbell rang downstairs. She heard Hyun-woo's heavy footsteps in the hallway, then voices. A woman's voice, sharp and familiar. Min-seo, his ex-wife. Perfect timing. Natasha zipped her suitcase and checked the room one last time. On the nightstand sat the binder she'd created. Daniel's complete medical history, every seizure logged with timestamps and duration, and what had triggered it. She'd been working with Dr. Richardson to identify patterns. Hyun-woo didn't know about that either. She should probably leave it. But something made her tuck it under her arm as she headed downstairs. The arguing reached her before she saw them. "Cannot keep doing this, Hyun-woo. Our son needs stability, not you firing everyone who tries to help." "Min-seo, I don't have time for this right now." "You never have time. That's the problem. You're so busy trying to prove you don't need anyone that you can't see what you're doing to Daniel." Natasha paused at the landing. Maybe she could slip out the back entrance. Avoid this whole scene. But then she heard the front door open again. Small footsteps. Daniel's voice, confused. "Mom, what are you doing here? Where's Natasha?" Her heart clenched. She couldn't leave without seeing him. She came down the rest of the stairs, suitcase in hand. Daniel's eyes went wide when he saw her. "Where are you going?" "Daniel, go to your room," Hyun-woo said, his voice strained. "No." The 7-year-old crossed his arms, looking so much like his father it would have been funny under different circumstances. "Where is Natasha going?" Min-seo looked between them all, her expression shifting from anger to understanding. "Hyun-woo? You didn't." This is not your concern. Everything about our son is my concern. Natasha is the only person who's managed to last more than 3 months in this house. What did you do?" Before Hyunwoo could answer, Daniel's face went pale. His eyes got that distant look, the one Natasha had learned to recognize in seconds. His right hand started twitching. "Daniel?" Minseo reached for him, but Natasha was already moving. She dropped her suitcase and the binder, crossing the space in 3 strides. "Everyone step back," she said, her voice calm but firm. She guided Daniel to the floor as his legs gave out, cushioning his head with her hand. "It's okay, sweetheart, I've got you." The seizure took hold, his small body going rigid, then jerking. Natasha checked her watch, counting silently. She turned him gently on his side, making sure his airway was clear. "Minseo, there's a blue bag in the kitchen, second cabinet from the left. Can you get it?" Minseo ran. Hyunwoo stood frozen, his face drained of color. "Should I call an ambulance?" "Not yet, we wait. This is probably a regular one, 90 seconds or less." Natasha kept her hand on Daniel's shoulder, her voice steady even though her heart was racing. "You're doing great, Daniel. Almost done." Minseo returned with the medical bag. Natasha didn't take her eyes off Daniel, but she nodded toward it. "There's a timer in there. Can you check how long it's been?" 72 seconds, Minseo whispered. The jerking slowed, then stopped. Daniel's breathing evened out, but he didn't wake up immediately. The post-ictal phase. Natasha had seen it dozens of times. She stroked his hair gently, murmuring reassurances he probably couldn't hear yet. Hyunwoo finally moved, kneeling beside them. His hands were shaking. Is he going to be okay?" "He'll wake up in a few minutes, confused, probably tired. We need to let him rest." Natasha looked up at him, her expression neutral. "This is what I do, Mr. Park. This is what I've been doing, every single day." Minseo sank into the nearest chair, her hand over her mouth. "How many times has this happened?" 43 episodes since I started working here," Natasha said quietly. "Most of them at night, a few during the day. I've been documenting everything, working with Dr. Richardson to adjust his medication schedule." "Dr. Richardson?" Hyunwoo's voice was barely above a whisper. "Daniel's neurologist?" "Yes, I asked him. Dr. Richardson, if I could attend the appointments, to learn, to understand what Daniel needed." She looked down at the boy sleeping peacefully now, his face relaxed. "You were always too busy with work, so I went instead. I didn't think you'd mind since you signed the medical release forms." The silence stretched between them, heavy and accusatory. Daniel stirred, his eyelids fluttering. "Natasha?" "I'm here." She helped him sit up slowly, checking his pupils. "How do you feel?" "Tired. My head hurts a little." He leaned against her and she wrapped an arm around him. "Did I have another one?" "You did, but you're okay now." He was quiet for a moment, then looked up at his father. "Is Natasha still leaving?" Hyunwoo opened his mouth, closed it. For once, he seemed completely lost for words. Minseo stood abruptly. "Can we talk? Privately?" She didn't wait for his answer, just walked toward his study. Hyunwoo followed, leaving Natasha alone with Daniel. "I don't want you to go," Daniel said softly. "You're the only one who understands. Dad tries, but he gets too scared. And Mom, she means well, but she makes it worse by panicking." Natasha hugged him closer. "Your parents love you very much. They're doing their best. But you're the best at helping me." He pulled back to look at her seriously, those dark eyes so earnest. "Please don't leave because Dad was being stupid." She couldn't help the small laugh that escaped. "Daniel, he does this. He pushes people away. Mom says it's because his own dad was mean to him and he doesn't know how to trust people." Daniel shrugged like he was discussing the weather, not his father's deepest emotional wounds. "But you're nice. You don't yell. You just help. That's all I need." Her throat felt tight. Let's get you upstairs. You need to rest properly. Will you still be here when I wake up? She didn't know how to answer that, so she just held his hand as they climbed the stairs together, and maybe that was answer enough. In the study, she could hear raised voices, not quite yelling, but close. Min-seo had never been one to hold back, and honestly, Natasha didn't blame her. Hyun-woo needed someone to tell him the truth. She got Daniel settled in his bed, closing the curtains to dim the room. He was asleep again within minutes, the exhaustion that always followed an episode pulling him under. Natasha sat in the chair by his bed, the one she'd occupied so many nights over the past 8 months, watching, waiting, making sure he was safe. Her phone buzzed again. This time she checked it. Vandy, how's America treating you? Are they at least paying you well? Natasha typed back slowly, might be coming home soon. We'll explain later. She put the phone away and looked at Daniel's sleeping face. 7 years old and already dealing with so much. It wasn't fair. None of it was fair. The door opened quietly. Hyun-woo stood there, his shoulders slumped in a way she'd never seen before. He looked defeated, tired, human. Can we talk? He asked, his voice rough. She glanced at Daniel, then stood carefully. They moved out into the hallway, leaving the door cracked so she could hear if Daniel stirred. Hyun-woo ran a hand through his hair, messing up the perfect style he always maintained. I owe you an apology. Several, actually. You don't have to. I do. Min-seo made that very clear. He leaned against the wall, looking anywhere but at her. I didn't know. About the appointments. About how many seizures Daniel's been having. About any of it. You were working, building your business. I understood that. That's not an excuse. He finally met her eyes. I hired you to take care of my son, and then I didn't trust you to do it. I second-guessed everything, questioned every decision, made you feel like you couldn't come to me with important information. Natasha crossed her arms. You fired me for doing my job. I know. He closed his eyes. My father. He used to say that needing help was weakness, that real men handled everything on their own. And I've spent my whole life trying to prove him wrong while simultaneously living exactly the way he taught me to. It's messed up. Yes, she said simply. It is. He looked surprised by her bluntness, then almost smiled. Almost. Min-seo said if I let you leave, she'll take me back to court for full custody. And she'll win. Because any judge will see that I can't even keep qualified help in the house. Is that the only reason you want me to stay? Because of the custody threat? No. The word came out fast, urgent. No, it's because Daniel needs you. Because I've watched you with him for months and never really saw what you were doing. Because you're the first person who's managed to make this house feel less like a prison and more like, I don't know, something better. They stood there in the hallway, the afternoon light filtering through the window at the end of the corridor. Somewhere downstairs, she could hear Min-seo talking on her phone, probably to her lawyer or her new husband or whoever she vented to about Hyun-woo's inadequacies. I can't work for someone who doesn't respect me, Natasha said finally. I left my entire family, my country, to make a better life. I won't spend it being treated like I'm invisible. I understand, and you're right. Hyun-woo straightened, and some of that CEO confidence returned to his posture. If you stay, things will be different. I'll be different. I'll actually listen when you tell me something about Daniel. I'll attend the medical appointments. He hesitated. I'll try to be less of an ass. Despite everything, she felt a smile tugging at her lips. That's a good start. Is that a yes? You'll stay? She thought about Daniel's face when he asked her not to leave, about the binder full of medical notes sitting downstairs by her suitcase, about the fact that nobody else in this house really understood what that little boy needed. I'll stay, she said. "But we're setting some ground rules." Relief flooded his features. "Anything. First, you attend every appointment with Dr. Richardson from now on. Second, I need access to Daniel's full schedule, not just the parts you remember to tell me about. Third," she paused. "Third, you actually talk to your son about the seizures, about how he's feeling, about everything. He's scared, Mr. Park, and he needs his father to acknowledge that." Hyun-woo nodded slowly, taking in each point. "Okay, yes, I can do that. And you call me Natasha, not the nanny or Miss Moyo or any of that formal stuff, just Natasha." "Natasha," he repeated like he was testing how it felt. "Okay." They heard footsteps on the stairs. Min-seo appeared, purse in hand. She looked between them, her sharp eyes missing nothing. "Are we settled here?" "Natasha's staying," Hyun-woo said. Min-seo turned to Natasha directly. "You're sure? Because if he pulls this again, you call me. I'll make sure you get at least 6 months severance." "I appreciate that," Natasha said, meaning it. "Good." Min-seo softened slightly. "Daniel talks about you constantly when he's at my place. You've been good for him. Better than—" she glanced at Hyun-woo. "Better than some people have been." The jab landed, but Hyun-woo didn't rise to it. Maybe he was learning. After Min-seo left, Natasha went back to check on Daniel. He was still sleeping peacefully, his breathing even and steady. She pulled the blanket up higher and turned to leave. But Hyun-woo was standing in the doorway, watching his son with an expression she'd never seen before. Soft, vulnerable, scared. "How often does this happen at night?" he asked quietly. 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more if he's stressed or didn't sleep well the night before. She kept her voice low. "I've been keeping the binder. The one downstairs by my suitcase. It has everything documented." "Can I see it?" "Of course. It's for you anyway. I was going to leave it when I—" She didn't finish the sentence. They went downstairs together. Natasha retrieved the binder and handed it to him. He opened it slowly, flipping through pages and pages of her neat handwriting. Dates, times, durations, potential triggers, medication schedules, notes from doctor appointments. "You did all this," he said, not quite a question. "It's important to track patterns. Dr. Richardson said that's how we figure out the best treatment plan." Hyun-woo sank onto the couch, still reading. His jaw tightened as he went through the entries. "I didn't know. I should have known, but I didn't." Natasha sat across from him. "You're learning now. That's what matters." He looked up at her, and something shifted in his expression. Gratitude, maybe, or respect, or just recognition. Like he was finally seeing her as a person instead of just hired help. "Thank you," he said, "for not giving up on him, on us." She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Outside, the sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Somewhere upstairs, Daniel slept peacefully, safe and cared for. And maybe, just maybe, things were going to start getting better. 3 weeks passed, and Hyun-woo kept his word. He showed up to Dr. Richardson's appointment that Thursday morning, sitting in the waiting room with his phone turned off. Actually off, not just silenced. Natasha had checked twice because she didn't quite believe it. Daniel kept looking at his father like he'd grown a second head. "You're really here?" "I'm really here," Hyun-woo confirmed, reaching over to ruffle his son's hair. The gesture was awkward, unpracticed, but Daniel's face lit up anyway. Dr. Richardson called them back, and they spent 45 minutes going over Daniel's recent episodes. The doctor seemed pleased with the detailed records Natasha had been keeping. "This is exactly what we need," he said, studying the charts. "I'm seeing a pattern here. Most of the nighttime seizures happen between 2 and 4 a.m., and they're clustered around periods of high stress. Daniel, have things been stressful at school?" Daniel shrugged, that non-committal gesture kids made when they didn't want to talk about something. Natasha caught Hyun-woo's eye and nodded slightly. This was his moment. Hyunwoo cleared his throat. "Hey, buddy, if something's bothering you at school, you can tell us. We're not going to be mad or anything. It's just, there's this kid, Brandon. He keeps saying stuff about how I'm weird because I have seizures." Daniel picked at the edge of his shirt. "And Mrs. Patterson makes me sit out during PE sometimes because she's worried I'll have an episode, so everyone knows something's wrong with me." Natasha's heart ached. She'd suspected there was something going on, but Daniel had never opened up about it before. Hyunwoo leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "There's nothing wrong with you, Daniel. You have epilepsy. That's a medical condition, not a character flaw. And anyone who makes you feel bad about it, well, they're the ones with the problem. But I can't do the things other kids can do." "Yes, you can. You just have to be a little more careful sometimes." Hyunwoo glanced at Dr. Richardson for confirmation. The doctor nodded. "Absolutely. With proper management and medication, there's no reason Daniel can't participate in normal activities. Maybe we need to have a conversation with his school about accommodations." They left the office an hour later with a new medication plan and a list of recommendations for the school. Daniel walked between them, and Natasha noticed how he kept stealing glances at his father, like he was afraid this version of Hyunwoo might disappear if he looked away. "Ice cream?" Hyunwoo suggested suddenly. Daniel's eyes widened. "Really? But it's a school day. You're already missing half the day anyway. Might as well make it count." Hyunwoo looked at Natasha. "You like ice cream, right? Or is that a stupid question? Everyone likes ice cream." She smiled. "I like ice cream, but I've never had American ice cream before, just the kind we made back home." "Wait, you made ice cream?" Daniel perked up. "Like from scratch?" "Not exactly scratch. We didn't have fancy ice cream makers, but we'd freeze condensed milk and flavoring, and it was close enough." The memory made her a little homesick, but in a good way. "My cousin Thabo was always trying to create new flavors. Most of them were terrible." They ended up at a local place called Sweetness and Light, tucked into a strip mall in the Dilworth neighborhood. The teenager behind the counter looked bored until Hyunwoo ordered one of everything for them to sample. That's like 34 flavors," the kid said. "Yes, and?" Natasha laughed. She couldn't help it. "Mr. Park, we don't need that much." "It's Hyunwoo. You said to call you Natasha, so it's Hyunwoo. And yes, we do need that much. How else are you supposed to find your favorite?" Daniel was already studying the flavors like it was a serious scientific endeavor. "I usually get vanilla." "Well, today you're getting vanilla and 33 other options," Hyunwoo said firmly. They sat at one of the small tables outside, surrounded by tiny sample cups. Natasha tried the lavender honey first. Too floral. Then the bourbon butter pecan. Better, but still not quite right. Daniel was methodically working his way through all the chocolate variations. "Try this one," Hyunwoo said, sliding a cup toward her. "It's Korean pear with ginger. I don't know if it's authentic or just, fusion nonsense. But it's good." She tasted it. The pear flavor was subtle, clean, with just enough ginger to give it a kick. Oh, that is good. Right?" He looked pleased. "They make it special here. The owner is from Seoul originally." Daniel made a face at his current. "Sample. This one tastes like grass." "That's matcha," Hyunwoo explained. "Green tea. It's an acquired taste." "I don't want to acquire it," Daniel said firmly, pushing it away. They spent 20 minutes there, talking and laughing and arguing over which flavors were actually edible. Natasha learned that Hyunwoo hated anything with fruit chunks. Why would you ruin perfectly good ice cream by adding texture? And that Daniel had surprisingly sophisticated taste for a 7-year-old. He declared the salted caramel pretzel to be peak ice cream achievement. For a moment, they almost looked like a normal family. Almost. Natasha caught herself thinking it and immediately pushed the thought away. This wasn't her family. She was the nanny, the employee, the help. But Hyunwoo was looking at her with that expression again, the one she couldn't quite read, and Daniel had unconsciously scooted his chair closer to hers, the way he always did when he felt safe and happy. "We should probably get you back home," Natasha said finally, checking her watch. "You need rest after the appointment." "I'm not tired," Daniel protested, but even as he said it, he yawned. Hyunwoo stood, gathering all the empty sample cups. "Come on, buddy, Natasha's right. Besides, I have a conference call at 2 that I absolutely cannot miss." They drove home in Hyunwoo's black Mercedes, Daniel falling asleep in the back seat within 5 minutes. Natasha glanced back at him, then at Hyunwoo. "That was good," she said quietly. "What you said in the doctor's office, about him not being weird. I meant it. And I'm sorry I haven't been saying things like that all along. I've been—" He paused, fingers tapping on the steering wheel. "I've been so focused on trying to fix everything that I forgot to just be there, you know?" "I know." Minseo used to say the same thing, that I was always trying to solve problems instead of listening to them, that I treated emotions like business deals, something to be negotiated and closed. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Guess that's why she left." Natasha didn't know what to say to that. She'd never asked about the divorce. It seemed too personal, too far outside her role. "Sorry," Hyunwoo said quickly. You don't need to hear about my failed marriage." "It's okay, I don't mind." They pulled into the driveway of the park house, all brick and white columns and perfectly manicured lawn. Hyunwoo parked but didn't immediately get out. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Why did you come to America? Not the general reason. I know you wanted better opportunities and all that, but specifically, why here? Why Charlotte?" Natasha considered the question. Most people didn't ask. They just assumed she was chasing the American dream like everyone else. "My mother died when I was 19, she said finally. "Cancer. We couldn't afford the treatment she needed, and by the time we managed to get enough money together, it was too late." She looked out the window at the expensive house, the luxury car, all the things that represented a world so different from where she'd come from. "I watched her die because we didn't have resources, and I promised myself I'd do whatever it took to make sure I never felt that helpless again." Hyunwoo was quiet for a long moment. "I'm sorry. That's terrible." "It is what it is. I can't change the past, but I can change my future. So I saved everything I earned working at the hotel in Mbaban, took every extra shift, learned English by watching American TV shows with subtitles, applied to every au pair and nanny program I could find." She smiled slightly. "You were the 17th family I interviewed with. The first 16 turned me down because I didn't have formal childcare training, just my nursing assistant certification. Well, their loss is my gain, even if it took me 8 months to realize it." She looked at him then, really, looked at him. His profile was sharp, all hard angles and determination. But there was something softer there too, hidden under layers of protection, something that reminded her of Daniel. Vulnerable and scared and trying so hard not to show it. "We should get him inside," she said, breaking the moment. Hyunwoo carried Daniel upstairs while Natasha got his room ready. They worked in quiet coordination. Hyunwoo removing Daniel's shoes while Natasha pulled back the covers. Daniel barely stirred, just mumbled something about ice cream and burrowed deeper into his pillow. Outside in the hallway, Hyunwoo paused. "I really do have that conference call, but after... Would you maybe want to talk? About Daniel's care plan? I want to understand everything you've been doing." "Of course. I'll be in my room if you need me." She watched him walk away, his shoulders already tensing up as he mentally prepared for whatever business battle awaited him on that call. Natasha went to her room and pulled out her laptop. She had emails to answer. Her cousin Thabo wanted to know if she could send money for his school fees, and her aunt was asking when she might visit home. Both questions she didn't quite know how to answer yet. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't pick up, but something made her answer. Natasha Moyo? A woman's voice, sharp and professional. Yes. This is Grace Winters from Family First Au Pair Services. We have your file here, and I'm calling because we've received a complaint. Natasha's stomach dropped. A complaint? From who? I'm not at liberty to say, but the allegation is that you've been overstepping your duties as a nanny, making medical decisions without parental consent, attending doctor appointments without authorization, that sort of thing. That's not... I had authorization. Mr. Park signed all the medical release forms. The complaint says you've been manipulating the situation to make yourself indispensable, that you've been undermining Mr. Park's authority with his own son. The words hit like a slap. Who said this? Was it Min Seo Park? Because if so, I cannot reveal the source, but I need to inform you that we're opening an investigation. Until it's resolved, we recommend you limit your contact with the child to basic care only. No medical decisions, no schedule changes, nothing that could be construed as overstepping. But Daniel needs... This is for your protection as much as the family's. We take these allegations very seriously. You'll hear from us within 2 weeks. The line went dead. Natasha sat there, phone in hand, trying to process what just happened. Someone had reported her. Someone thought she was... What? Trying to take over? Manipulating the situation? A knock on her door made her jump. Natasha, it's me. Hyunwoo's voice muffled through the wood. She opened the door. He took one look at her face and frowned. What's wrong? I just got a call from my au pair agency. Someone filed a complaint against me. His expression went cold. What kind of complaint? She told him everything, watching his face get darker with each word. By the time she finished, he looked ready to commit murder. This is Min Seo, he said flatly. It has to be. She's the only one who would... Damn it. Damn it. He pulled out his phone, already dialing. Wait, you don't know for sure. I know my ex-wife. She does this. She finds pressure points and pushes until something breaks, and she's probably mad that I actually followed through on the changes I promised. He put the phone to his ear, waited. Min Seo, we need to talk. Now. Natasha couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she could imagine it. Hyunwoo's jaw was clenched so tight she thought he might crack a tooth. Did you call Natasha's agency? Did you file a complaint? Don't lie to me, Min Seo. Did you or did you not? Oh, so it was your mother. That's so much better. No, you don't get to... Min Seo. Min Seo. He lowered the phone, breathing hard. She hung up on me. Her mother filed the complaint. Apparently, Mrs. Choi has never liked anyone I've hired. She thinks no one is good enough to care for her grandson. Hyunwoo ran his hand through his hair in that frustrated gesture Natasha was starting to recognize. But Min Seo knew about it. She knew, and she didn't stop it. Why would she do that? She's the one who told you not to let me go. Because she's complicated. She wants Daniel to have good care, but she also wants me to fail. She wants proof that I can't handle things on my own so she can push for full custody. He looked at Natasha directly. This isn't about you. You're just caught in the middle of our mess. Natasha sat down on her bed, suddenly exhausted. The agency told me to limit my contact with Daniel. Basic care only until the investigation is finished. That's insane. You're the only reason he's been stable these past few weeks. It doesn't matter. If I don't follow their guidelines, they can pull my work visa, and then I'm done. Not just with this job, but with staying in the country at all. The weight of it settled between them, all the progress they'd made, all the careful routine they'd built, threatened by one phone call from a bitter grandmother who'd never even met Natasha. I'll fix this, Hyunwoo said. I'll call the agency myself, explain everything. They won't listen. It's my word against Mrs. Choi's, and she's probably more credible than a nanny from Eswatini who's only been here 8 months. Don't say that. Your credibility isn't... It's true, though, isn't it? This is how it works. People like your ex-mother-in-law, they have power, they have connections. And people like me, we're disposable. Hyunwoo looked like she'd punched him. You're not disposable. Not to Daniel, not to... He stopped himself. They sat there in heavy silence, the unspoken words hanging between them. Finally, Natasha stood. I should start dinner. Daniel will be hungry when he wakes up. Natasha? It's fine, really. I'll figure it out. I always do. She left before he could argue, heading downstairs to the kitchen. Her hands shook as she pulled out ingredients for bibimbap, one of Daniel's favorites that she'd learned to make by watching YouTube videos and asking Hyunwoo questions about technique. The vegetables needed chopping, the rice needed cooking, and she needed something to focus on that wasn't the disaster her life had suddenly become. But her mind kept circling back to the same question. Who else might want her gone? The investigation dragged on for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of Natasha walking on eggshells, terrified that every interaction with Daniel would be scrutinized and judged. She still took care of him, gave him his medications, made his meals, helped with homework. But she kept her distance emotionally, and she could see the confusion in Daniel's eyes every time she pulled away. "Why won't you play cards with me anymore?" he asked one evening, holding up the deck they used to use for their nightly games. "I'm just tired, sweetheart. Maybe ask your dad." Daniel's face fell. It's not the same. Hyunwoo had been trying to fill the gap, but he was out of practice. He came home early most days now, actually ate dinner with them instead of working through it, even attempted to help with homework, though his approach to second-grade math was apparently way too complicated because Daniel ended up more confused than before. "Why are you using algebra?" Natasha had asked, glancing at his work. "Because that's how you solve it efficiently." "He's 7. Just use pictures." They'd laughed about it, a brief moment of normalcy. But then Natasha remembered the investigation, and the laughter died. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Natasha was folding laundry in her room when her phone rang. "Miss Moyo, this is Grace Winters again. I'm pleased to inform you that we've concluded our investigation. The complaint has been dismissed as unfounded." Relief flooded through her so fast she had to sit down. "Really?" "Yes, we spoke with Mr. Park extensively, reviewed all the medical documentation, and even contacted Dr. Richardson. Everyone confirmed that you were operating within the scope of your duties and had proper authorization for everything you did." Grace paused. "I should also mention that Mr. Park was quite vocal in your defense. I've never seen someone threaten to sue an au pair agency before." Despite everything, Natasha smiled. "That sounds like him." "You're cleared to resume normal duties. And Miss Moyo, for what it's worth, you did good work. Not many nannies would go to the lengths you did to ensure proper medical care. The Park family is lucky to have you." After the call ended, Natasha sat there for a long moment, just breathing. It was over. She was safe. Her visa was safe. Everything was okay. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." Hyunwoo stepped inside, looking cautious. "I heard your phone ring. Was that—" "The agency. I've been cleared. The complaint was dismissed." His whole body seemed to relax. "Thank God. I've been going crazy thinking they might... if they'd pulled your visa because of my ex-wife's mother..." He shook his head. "That would have been unforgivable. It wasn't your fault, wasn't it? This whole situation exists because I didn't set boundaries with Min Seo and her family years ago. I let them think they had a say in every decision I made about Daniel. And now, you almost paid the price for my weakness." Natasha stood, crossing to where he stood in the doorway. "Stop. You're not responsible for other people's actions. Mrs. Choi filed that complaint because she's, bitter or controlling or whatever, but that's on her, not you. Still." He met her eyes, and something in his expression made her breath catch. "I should have protected you better. You were taking care of my son, doing everything right, and I let you get attacked for it." "You defended me. Grace said you threatened to sue them." He had the grace to look embarrassed. "Yeah, well, I might have gotten a little heated during that conversation, possibly mentioned my lawyers several times, maybe implied that I knew people in the visa office who could make their lives difficult if they didn't investigate properly." "You didn't." "I absolutely did. Nobody messes with people I—" He stopped, seeming to catch himself. "People who work for me. People who are important to my son." The correction was clumsy, obvious. Natasha felt her heart start beating faster. "Anyway," Hyunwoo continued quickly, "I wanted to ask if maybe we could celebrate, the three of us. Daniel's been miserable these past few weeks with you being distant. Maybe we could do something fun, take his mind off everything." "Like what?" "There's a fall festival in Freedom Park this weekend. Carnival games, food trucks, live music. Very American, very tacky, probably terrible." He smiled slightly. "Daniel would love it," she laughed. "Okay, yes, let's do it." "Yeah? Yeah, I think we could all use something normal right now." Saturday arrived bright and clear, perfect autumn weather. Daniel was bouncing with excitement from the moment he woke up, asking every 5 minutes when they were leaving. "We're waiting for your dad to finish getting ready," Natasha said, braiding her hair in front of the hallway mirror. "Dad takes forever," Daniel complained. "Why do adults take so long to get dressed?" "Some adults," Hyunwoo said, appearing from his room. "I'll have you know I was ready 15 minutes ago. I was answering emails. See? Forever." They drove to the park with Daniel providing commentary on everything they passed. "That's where my friend Marcus lives. That's the store that sells the good bubble gum. That's where Mom took me for pizza that one time, but I threw up in the car on the way home. Thank you for that memory," Hyunwoo said dryly. The festival was packed, families everywhere enjoying the perfect weather. There were booths selling kettle corn and caramel apples, a small Ferris wheel, face painting stations, and about a dozen different carnival games that were definitely rigged but looked fun anyway. Daniel dragged them toward the ring toss first. "I want the big bear." "Buddy, those games are impossible." But Daniel was already handing over his tickets, determined. He missed on his first 5 tries, then 6, then 7. His face started crumpling with frustration. "Here," Natasha said gently, crouching beside him. "Try holding it like this, and don't throw hard. Just let it float." He adjusted his grip the way she showed him. The next ring sailed through the air and landed perfectly around a bottle. Daniel screamed, "I did it! Did you see that?" The booth worker, a tired-looking teenager, handed over a small stuffed bear. Not the big one Daniel had wanted, but he didn't seem to care. He hugged it like it was made of gold. "Thank you, Natasha. You're the best." She caught Hyunwoo watching them with that expression again, soft, wondering. They tried every game after that. Hyunwoo turned out to be surprisingly good at the basketball toss, winning a ridiculous inflatable guitar. Natasha dominated the duck pond game, much to Daniel's delight. They ate cotton candy and funnel cake and shared a massive plate of nachos that was probably 80% cheese. "This is the best day ever," Daniel declared, cheese sauce on his chin. "Ever?" Hyunwoo teased. "What about your birthday or Christmas? Or that time we went to Disney?" "Okay, fine. Top 5 best days." Daniel grinned, but still really, really good. As the sun started setting, they wandered toward the small stage where a local band was setting up. Families were spreading blankets on the grass, settling in for the evening. Concert. "Should we stay?" Natasha asked. "Can we? Please." Daniel looked between them hopefully. Hyunwoo checked his watch, then shrugged. "Why not? I don't have anywhere else to be." They found a spot near the back, spreading out the blanket Hyunwoo had grabbed from his car. Daniel immediately sprawled across it, still clutching his small bear. The band started playing. Bluegrass, which Natasha had never really heard before. The music was fast and intricate, banjos and fiddles weaving together in patterns that somehow made sense. "You're staring," Hyunwoo said quietly. "I've never heard anything like this. We don't have this kind of music back home. Do you miss it? Home?" She considered the question. "Sometimes. Mostly I miss my family, my cousin Thabo especially. We were really close growing up, but the opportunity's there." She shook her head. "I'm doing more here in 8 months than I could have done in 8 years there. So no, I don't regret leaving, even when things get hard." Like psychotic ex-mothers-in-law filing false complaints? Exactly like that. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the band play. Daniel had fallen asleep, worn out from all the excitement. His head was pillowed on Natasha's lap, one small hand still holding the bear. "He looks peaceful," Hyunwoo observed. "He is peaceful. This was good for him. Getting out, being normal for a day. He needs more of this. We should make it a regular thing. Not necessarily festivals, but, I don't know, family outings, normal stuff." Natasha looked at him. "We're not a family, though." The words came out sharper than she'd intended. Hyunwoo flinched slightly. "I just meant for Daniel's sake. So he has good memories of this time in his life, not just doctor appointments and seizures and his parents fighting." Hyunwoo picked at a thread on the blanket. "But you're right. I shouldn't have said family. That was presumptuous. I didn't mean it like that. She didn't know how to finish the sentence. The truth was, it had felt like family today. The three of them laughing and playing games and sharing food. Daniel calling for both of them when he needed something, not choosing one over the other. The easy way they'd moved through the day, anticipating each other's needs without discussion. It felt like family, and that terrified her, because Natasha knew how this ended. She was the nanny. Eventually, Daniel would grow up. Eventually, she'd move on to another job, or Hyunwoo would remarry, or something would change. This wasn't permanent, no matter how much it felt like it might be. "We should probably head home," Hyunwoo said, breaking the tension, "before he's completely dead to the world." They packed up carefully, Hyunwoo carrying a sleeping Daniel while Natasha folded the blanket and gathered their various prizes from the games. The walk back to the car was quiet, just the distant sound of the band still playing and their footsteps on the pavement. Daniel stirred when they buckled him into his car seat. "Is it over? The festival?" "Yeah, buddy, but we had fun, right?" "The best." He smiled sleepily. "Can Natasha come to all our family things from now on?" Hyunwoo glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "If she wants to." "I want to," Natasha said softly. Daniel's smile widened, and then he was asleep again. The drive home was peaceful, streetlights flickering past the windows. Natasha found herself studying Hyunwoo's profile in the dim light. The strong line of his jaw, the way his hair fell across his forehead when he hadn't styled it properly, the slight curve of his mouth when he thought no one was watching. When did that happen? When did she start noticing these things? They got Daniel into bed without fully waking him, a practiced routine now. Natasha pulled off his shoes while Hyunwoo changed him into pajamas. They worked in silent coordination, each knowing their role. Outside Daniel's room, Hyunwoo paused. "Thank you. For today. For making it special. You made it special, too. You were really present. Not just physically, but actually engaged." Daniel noticed. "He's been happier these past few weeks than I've ever seen him." "That's because of you. It's because of both of us. We're a good team." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning neither of them was quite ready to acknowledge. "Well, good night then," Hyunwoo said finally. "Good night." But neither of them moved. They stood there in the hallway, the house quiet around them, something unspoken building in the space between their bodies. Hyunwoo stepped closer. "Natasha?" Her phone buzzed loudly, shattering the moment. She jumped, pulling it out. A text from her cousin Thabo. "Sorry, It's my family. They don't usually message this late, so it might be important. Of course, go. I'll see you tomorrow. She practically fled to her room, heart pounding. What was she doing? He was her employer. This was inappropriate. This was dangerous. But when she closed her eyes, all she could see was the way he'd looked at her in the hallway. Like she was something precious. Like she mattered. Thabo's message was innocuous. Just checking in, asking how she was doing. She sent back a quick reply, then sat on her bed, trying to calm her racing thoughts. This couldn't happen. She couldn't let herself feel things for Hyun-woo. It would ruin everything. Her job, her visa, her carefully planned future. But her heart, it seemed, had other ideas. October gave way to November, and with it came complications Natasha hadn't anticipated. Minseo started showing up more frequently, always with some excuse about needing to discuss Daniel's schedule or pick up his things for her custody weekends. But Natasha could see through it. The woman was checking up on them, making sure Natasha hadn't overstepped again. "You're still here," Minseo said one Thursday afternoon, her tone carefully neutral. She stood in the foyer wearing a designer coat that probably cost more than Natasha made in 6 months. "I work here," Natasha replied evenly. "Yes, well, after the complaint," which was dismissed completely. Minseo's jaw tightened. "My mother was only trying to protect Daniel." From proper medical care? That's an interesting form of protection. They stared at each other, tension crackling between them. Natasha had learned not to back down from Minseo. The woman respected strength, even if she didn't like it. "Where's Hyun-woo?" Minseo asked finally. "Office. Conference call with Singapore. Should be done in about 20 minutes. "And Daniel?" "Homework. I was just about to check on him." Minseo pushed past her, heading up the stairs. "I'll check on him myself, thank you." Natasha let her go, counting to 10 in her head. Getting into it with Minseo wouldn't help anyone, least of all Daniel. She went to the kitchen instead, pulling out ingredients for dinner. She'd planned on making bulgogi. Hyun-woo had taught her the recipe last week, and Daniel had declared it his new favorite food. "That smells amazing," a voice said from the doorway. Natasha turned to find a woman she'd never seen before. Tall, elegant, with the kind of sophisticated style that screamed money and taste. Her hair was swept up in a perfect chignon, and her smile was warm but assessing. "I'm sorry, can I help you?" Natasha asked. "I'm Haiwan, Hyun-woo's sister. I let myself in through the side door." Old habits. She extended a manicured hand. "You must be Natasha. I've heard a lot about you." They shook hands, Natasha very aware of the flour on her apron and the fact that she probably had soy sauce somewhere in her hair. "I didn't know Hyun-woo had a sister." "We don't advertise it much. Family dynamics and all that." Haiwan settled onto one of the kitchen bar stools, watching Natasha work. "So you're the miracle worker who's managed to last more than 3 months in this house." "I'm just doing my job." "My brother doesn't sing praises easily, but he can't shut up about you lately. How organized you are, how good you are with Daniel, how you actually care about doing things properly." Haiwan's eyes were shrewd. "It's refreshing, and maybe a little concerning." Natasha paused mid-chop. "Concerning?" "He hasn't shown this much interest in anyone since Minseo, and we all know how that ended." Haiwan's tone was light, but her message was clear. "I'm not trying to scare you off or anything. Just be careful. My brother is complicated. He doesn't let people in easily, but when he does—" She trailed off meaningfully. "Mrs. Park. Miss Park divorced. But call me Haiwan." "Haiwan. I think you're misunderstanding the situation. I'm Daniel's nanny, that's all." "Is it?" Haiwan tilted her head. "Because my brother just rearranged a major business trip so he wouldn't miss Daniel's school play next week. Hyun-woo has never rearranged. Business for personal reasons. Not once in his entire career. But he's doing it now." Before Natasha could respond, Hyun-woo appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Haiwan, what are you doing here?" "Visiting my nephew. and apparently meeting your very interesting nanny. Haewon slid off the stool gracefully. We should have dinner sometime, all of us. I want to get to know Natasha better. We'll see. Hyunwoo looked uncomfortable, which Natasha was learning meant he was trying not to show emotion. Haewon kissed her brother's cheek and left, but not before shooting Natasha one last knowing look. Sorry about that, Hyunwoo said once she was gone. My sister is intense. She seems nice. She's nosy is what she is. He moved closer, peering at what Natasha was cooking. Is that the bulgogi recipe I taught you? Attempting, anyway. I might have added too much garlic. There's no such thing as too much garlic. He reached around her to grab a piece of marinated meat. Arms brushing. Natasha felt that touch like electricity, her skin tingling where they'd made contact. He noticed. She saw it in the way his hand stilled, the way his breath caught slightly. For a moment, neither of them moved, frozen in this almost embrace. Then footsteps on the stairs broke the spell. Min Seo appeared with Daniel in tow. We're leaving, she announced. Daniel's spending the weekend with me. There's a family gathering tomorrow, and my mother specifically requested he be there. Daniel looked miserable. Do I have to? Yes, your grandparents want to see you. But I hate family gatherings. Everyone asks weird questions, and grandmother keeps telling me to sit still and... Daniel, car, now. Min Seo's tone left no room for argument. Hyunwoo stepped forward. Min Seo, he clearly doesn't want... It's in the custody agreement. Alternating weekends. This is my weekend. She softened slightly, looking at Daniel. I know family things are boring, but it'll be okay. I'll make sure you get breaks. Daniel sighed heavily but went to get his overnight bag. Natasha caught his eye and gave him an encouraging smile. After they left, the house felt too quiet. Hyunwoo stood in the kitchen looking lost. You okay? Natasha asked softly. I hate this. I hate that he's unhappy and there's nothing I can do about it. I hate that Min Seo gets to decide when I see my own son. I hate... He stopped, running both hands through his hair. I hate feeling powerless. You're not powerless. You're being a good father by respecting the custody agreement. That matters. Does it? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like I'm failing him. Natasha turned off the stove and faced him fully. Listen to me. Daniel's happy. He's healthy. He's doing well in school. He knows both his parents love him. You haven't failed at anything. He had 3 seizures last month, which we managed, together. And Dr. Richardson said the new medication is working better. We're making progress. Hyunwoo looked at her for a long moment. You always know what to say. That's not true. Half the time I have no idea what I'm doing. Well, you hide it well. He moved closer, and Natasha's heart started that stupid racing thing again. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why are you still here? Really? You could work for any family in Charlotte, probably make more money, have an easier schedule, deal with less drama. He gestured vaguely at the space Min Seo had occupied. So why stay? Natasha chose her words carefully. Because Daniel needs consistency. Because I care about his well-being. Because... She hesitated. Because this feels like where I'm supposed to be right now. Even with all the complications? Especially with all the complications. Easy jobs are boring. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his whole face. You're something else, Natasha Moyo. Is that good or bad? Definitely good. Very, very good. They stood there, the air, between them charged with possibility. Natasha knew if she leaned forward even slightly, if she gave any indication that she wanted this, but she couldn't. She shouldn't. Her phone buzzed, saved again by technology. But this time, the message made her freeze. It was from the au pair agency. What's wrong? Hyunwoo asked immediately, seeing her face. The agency. They're doing random site visits now, as part of their new quality assurance program. She looked up at him. They're coming here, next week. So? Everything's fine. Better than fine. But what if they think, what if they see? She couldn't even articulate her fear. What if they saw the way she looked at him? What if they noticed the tension between them? What if they decided she was getting too involved with the family? They won't see anything inappropriate because there isn't anything inappropriate, Hyunwoo said firmly. You're an exceptional nanny doing exceptional work. That's all they need to know. But even. As he said it, they both knew it wasn't entirely true anymore. The site visit was scheduled for the following Wednesday. Natasha spent the weekend cleaning things that were already clean, organizing things that were already organized, practicing what she'd say when they asked about her duties. Daniel came back Sunday night in a terrible mood. Grandmother spent the whole weekend telling me how I should act and what I should say, and how I need to be more like this perfect grandson she has in her head. He threw his bag on the floor of his room. I hate it there. I know it's hard, Natasha said, sitting on his bed, but your grandmother loves you. She just shows it differently than you're used to. She doesn't love me. She loves some imaginary version of me that doesn't have seizures and isn't awkward and doesn't like weird things. He kicked at his bag. I heard her telling Mom that maybe the seizures were happening because there wasn't enough structure in my life. Like it's Dad's fault or your fault or something. Natasha's stomach tightened. What did your mom say? She told Grandmother to mind her own business. They had a big fight about it. Daniel looked at her with worried eyes. Is it going to cause problems? The seizures? What do you mean? For you and Dad. Grandmother said Dad should get a real medical professional to take care of me, not just a nanny. Oh. So that's where this was coming from. Mrs. Choi was planting seeds again, trying to undermine Natasha's position. Your dad and I are a team, Natasha said carefully. We work together to make sure you're healthy and safe. That's not going to change. Promise? Promise. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. What if the agency agreed with Mrs. Choi? What if they decided Natasha wasn't qualified enough? Wednesday arrived too fast. The agency representative was a woman named Patricia Chen, stern, professional, carrying a clipboard like a weapon. She interviewed Hyunwoo first, then Daniel, then finally Natasha. The questions were pointed, specific. How do you handle medical emergencies? What's your protocol for documenting Daniel's care? Have you ever made decisions without parental approval? Describe the family dynamics. Any concerns? Natasha answered everything honestly, methodically. She showed Patricia the medical binder, explained the coordination with Dr. Richardson, walked through a typical day's schedule. Patricia took notes constantly, her expression giving nothing away. I'll need to observe you with Daniel, she said finally, during a normal afternoon routine. So Natasha helped Daniel with homework while Patricia watched. She made him a snack, apple slices with peanut butter, his favorite. They played a quick game of cards because Daniel needed a break from math problems. Through it all, Patricia observed, writing, judging. After 2 hours, she finally packed up her clipboard. I think I have everything I need. When will we hear the results? Hyunwoo asked. He'd canceled meetings to be present for this, and Natasha appreciated it more than she could say. 2 weeks, we'll send a full report. Patricia paused at the door. Off the record? You have an excellent nanny here, Mr. Park. Don't let her go. She left before either of them could respond. Natasha sagged against the counter, relief flooding through her. She said excellent. She did. Hyunwoo was grinning. She actually said that. Maybe Mrs. Choi was wrong. Maybe this will be okay. Of course it'll be okay. I told you there was nothing to worry about. But life had a way of proving optimism wrong. The report came back 2 weeks later. Glowing review, high marks across the board, recommendation for continued employment. But buried in the notes was a single line that changed everything. Recommend maintaining professional boundaries to ensure optimal working relationship. Minseo got a copy of the report. Of course she did. She showed up at the house that same evening, waving the paper like evidence at a trial. Professional boundaries, Hyun-woo. The agency specifically mentioned professional boundaries. Her eyes were bright with vindication. I knew something was going on here. Nothing is going on. Oh, please, I'm not blind. The way you look at her, the way she looks at you. You're playing house with the nanny while our son is caught in the middle. That's not fair, isn't it? Daniel talks about Natasha constantly. Natasha this, Natasha that. He barely mentions me anymore because he's so wrapped up in whatever fantasy family situation you've created here. They were in the living room, voices rising. Natasha stood frozen in the hallway, listening to her worst fears being articulated. Natasha cares about Daniel. That's not a crime. It is when it confuses him about who his real family is. He needs to understand that you are his father, and I am his mother, not some woman you're clearly developing feelings for. My feelings are none of your concern. They are when they affect our son. God, Hyun-woo, do you ever think, or do you just bulldoze through life hoping everything works out? Daniel appeared at the top of the stairs, his face pale. He'd heard everything. Natasha moved before anyone else could react, climbing the stairs to him. Hey, let's go to your room, okay? They're fighting about you, he whispered. They're fighting about a lot of things. Come on. She got him into his room, closed the door against the shouting downstairs. Daniel crawled into bed fully clothed, pulling his blanket up to his chin. Is Mom right? Are you and Dad? We're friends, sweetheart, that's all. But you like him, I can tell. Natasha sat on the edge of the bed, her heart breaking. What I feel doesn't matter. What matters is you, making sure you're okay and happy and healthy. I'm happy when you're here. Both of you. Together. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Why can't that be enough? Because life wasn't that simple. Because she was the nanny and he was her employer, and Min Seo was right. They'd been playing at something they had no right to play at. Sometimes adults make things complicated, Natasha said softly, but I promise, whatever happens, I'm not going anywhere unless you want me to. I never want you to go. Then I'll stay. She stayed with him until he fell asleep, listening to the argument continue downstairs. When she finally emerged, the house was quiet. Min Seo's car was gone from the driveway. Hyun-woo sat on the couch, head in his hands. She's right, he said without looking up. About everything. Natasha's chest tightened. Hyun-woo. I crossed a line. I wanted to cross that line. And now Daniel's confused, and Min Seo's threatening to go back to court, and everything is a mess. He finally looked at her, his eyes red. I'm sorry. I should have been more careful, more professional. We both should have been. So what do we do now? Natasha thought about her visa, her job, her carefully built life here. She thought about Daniel upstairs, finally feeling safe and stable. She thought about Hyun-woo sitting here broken, everything he'd worked to build threatening to collapse. We do our jobs, she said finally. We take care of Daniel. We maintain boundaries. Her voice cracked. We stop pretending this could be anything other than what it is. Hyun-woo stood slowly, moving toward her. And what if I don't want to stop pretending? Then you're being selfish. Because this isn't just about what we want. Daniel needs stability. He needs both his parents in his life without complications. And that means... She stepped back, putting physical distance between them. That means we can't do this, whatever this might have become. Natasha, please don't make this harder than it already is. She left before he could argue, climbing the stairs to her room. Inside, she finally let herself cry. Quiet tears for a future that could never be, for feelings she couldn't afford to have, for a family that wasn't really hers. Her phone buzzed, a text from Thabo. When are you coming home to visit? We miss you. Home. Eswatini felt like another lifetime ago, another person's life. But maybe it was time to remember who she really was. Not someone who played house with wealthy families, not someone who fell for her employer, just Natasha Moyo from Eswatini, trying to build a better life, one careful decision at a time, even if those decisions broke her heart. The next morning, Hyun Woo was already gone when she came downstairs. A note on the kitchen counter. Had to fly to New York for emergency meetings. Back Friday. Please take care of Daniel. H. So much for maintaining boundaries through conversation. He just left. Daniel was quiet at breakfast, pushing his cereal around his bowl. "Are you mad at me?" he asked finally. "Why would I be mad at you?" "Because of what I said, about liking you and Dad together. I made things weird." Natasha reached across the table to squeeze his hand. "You didn't make anything weird. Adults are we're just figuring things out. But none of this is your fault, okay?" "Okay." He didn't sound convinced. The rest of the week passed in careful routine. School, homework, dinner, medical checks, bedtime. Natasha kept everything professional, organized, perfect. She documented every detail like the agency might show up at any moment. She also started looking at job postings, just browsing, just preparing. Because maybe Minseo was right. Maybe this had gotten too complicated. Maybe the kindest thing Natasha could do for everyone involved was to quietly remove herself from the situation before it got worse. Friday evening, Hyun Woo's car pulled into the driveway. Natasha steeled herself, ready to have the professional boundaries conversation properly this time. But when he walked through the door, he wasn't alone. A woman followed him in, polished, beautiful, Korean. She smiled at Natasha with perfect white teeth. "You must be Natasha. I'm Jihai. Hyun Woo's..." "Well, it's complicated, but we've known each other since college. I'm visiting from Seoul for a few weeks." Hyun Woo wouldn't meet Natasha's eyes. "Jihai will be staying in the guest room. I hope that's not a problem." It was absolutely a problem. Everything about this was a problem. But Natasha just smiled her professional smile and said, "Of course not. Welcome to the park home." And if her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces right there in the foyer, well, that was her problem to deal with, wasn't it? If you enjoyed this wild story of unexpected feelings and complicated family dynamics, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next emotional roller coaster. Drop a comment sharing which character you're rooting for, and smash that like button if you believe Natasha and Hyun Woo deserve a real chance at happiness.